Itamar Marcus, you're the founder and director of Palestinian Media Watch. First of all, can you tell me your personal reaction and then professional reaction to what happened on October 7th, 2023?
Personal reaction is just no words, beyond horror. It's something, we always knew there could be individual terror attacks or rocket attacks. No one imagined that they could succeed. I couldn't imagine they would succeed. I knew they would try something like this. It was something that they've been planning, they've been publicizing. We've seen so many videos from Hamas and even from Fatah where they literally describe many of the things that they've done. But we never believed they would succeed because we knew that we had the Israeli army, and that's the shock here. That the shock, the horror, and the feeling of frustration that our own army couldn't protect our people.
Yeah, tell us who Hamas is.
Hamas is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're the ones who say that the conflict with Israel is an existential conflict. Both against Israel, the state, and against all Jews. They say that according to Islam, Israel has no right to exist, and according to Islam, Jews have no right to exist. Now, I must add, that's Hamas, but by now, that is Fatah and the Palestinian Authority as well. Just yesterday, Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religion sent out a notice to all of its preachers that today, Friday, they should all speak in their sermons, in all of their mosques, and one of the things they should talk about is quoting the Hadith, the Islamic tradition that calls for literally the genocide of Jews. This is what the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religion told their religious leaders to talk about today. So we think of the Hamas as being the ones who deny Jews the right to exist. Fatah does as well. The basic difference is Hamas was a stronger military. They succeeded. They did what Fatah would love to have done, but didn't do it because they were unable.
What is that verse from the Quran that they wanted to cite today?
The verse that they cited, it's from a hadith. The hadith is the tradition attributed to Muhammad that was written after his death, many, many years after his death. And these are things that he said and he did that become part of Islamic law at the same status almost as the Quran. And the quote is, "The hour of resurrection won't come until Muslims fight the Jews and kill them. Jews will hide behind rocks and trees. And the rocks and trees will say, 'Muslim, servant of Allah, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him.'" That's what the PA told its people today. And if you go to our website, palwatch.org, you'll find many examples of Palestinian religious leaders saying that on official Palestinian TV for many, many years.
What is the relationship between Fatah and the Palestinian Authority?
Fatah and the Palestinian Authority is basically one and the same. The head of the Palestinian Authority is Mahmoud Abbas. The head of Fatah is Mahmoud Abbas. Many of the senior officials in Fatah are the senior officials of the Palestinian Authority. Fatah is the political party that rules the Palestinian Authority, so that they're essentially one and the same.
Yeah. President Biden says he still wants a two-state solution. What is your reaction to that?
Biden also said that Hamas don't represent the Palestinian people. And that was just a terrible mistake. I don't know what intelligence people he has, or if he's just expressing a wish from his heart. But if you look at the Palestinian world, not just today after this atrocity, but the Palestinian world for the last few years, Hamas has been the more popular. And in fact, 2.5 years ago, when elections were scheduled, a month before elections, Mahmoud Abbas canceled the elections because all the polls indicated that Hamas was going to win, both for the presidency as well as for the legislature. We would have a Hamas-ruled Palestinian Authority as well. So Hamas definitely represents the Palestinian people at this point.
There's also talk, I understand, of when the Israeli ground invasion of the Gaza Strip is over, and if they defeat Hamas, it would be the Palestinian Authority who would take over. What's your reaction to that?
Well, we're right now publicizing all of the Palestinian Authority's support for this terror invasion. Palestinian Authority has been broadcasting calls for people to join, for West Bank, for Judea and Samaria Arabs to join in the terror against Israel. The tragedy is that the world has seen the Palestinian Authority as a quote unquote peace partner all these years. They have funded them, they've given them money. They used all that money to educate a generation of Palestinians that they have the obligation to fight to destroy Israel. They have obligation to fight to kill Jews. Hamas today and its power is the result not of Hamas education. It's the result of Palestinian Authority education. They're the ones who educated this entire generation. And when Hamas comes with an agenda that fits the PA education, that's why they're so popular today. They're seen as the authentic movement that's fulfilling the education that the Palestinian Authority has been teaching them. That's why Palestinian Authority is not the solution. They are the fundamental source of the problem.
And there's also the program called Pay to Slay. Is that still in effect?
Pay to Slay, Palestinian Authority rewards every terrorist who ends up in an Israeli prison with a monthly salary. They reward the families of the people who are killed in terror attacks against Israel. The family is rewarded with a monthly stipend for life. Palestinian Media Watch did the calculations. The 1,500 terrorists who were killed in Israel, who crossed the border, did the massacres, did the atrocities, the rapes, those 1,500 terrorists are going to be getting, the families of those killed terrorists will be getting close to $3 million already for the first month. And then they will continue getting a stipend of about $350 a month for the rest of their lives.
And also the president has pledged $100 million to the Palestinian Authority. Your reaction to that, or to Palestinians?
I think it's tragic, because I think it's almost going to be the final. It's erasing the final glimmer of hope that we could get the 200 hostages released. What we needed was the entire world to tell Hamas, your people are going to suffer. Palestinians are not going to have anything, any water, any food, any gas, anything that they need to survive until you release those 200 hostages. That was the only way we'd get them back. And we would tell the Palestinian people, if you want them back, you put pressure on Hamas. You put pressure on your leaders. If you want to have gas, and if you want to have electricity, and if you want to have water, pressure. So they gave up. So unfortunately, by giving them this $100 million, so-called humanitarian aid, it is guaranteeing, I fear, that we will never get our hostages released. And that's a real tragedy.
Well, we know the IDF is facing an invasion on the Gaza border, and also a possible war with Hezbollah on its northern border. How would you describe the West Bank right now?
It's simultaneous to what's going on in the south. Israel has been going into every single city where there are terror infrastructures and arresting dozens of people. One night there were 50 people arrested. We're taking all the leaders, the potential leaders of Hamas and Fatah, of all the terror groups, Lions Den, you name it, and we're arresting them. So we have them on the run. And I don't think they will be able to, they would like to, but I don't think they'll be able to organize any serious attrition and terror while the war is going on.
What kind of influence does Iran have in the West Bank?
Anyone who will help Palestinians kill Israelis will have tremendous influence. And even there, so that therefore, even though the Iran is Shiite and the Palestinians are Sunni, Palestinians will be happy to support them, because they see anyone who's going to help them kill Jews and Israelis is their buddy. They have a direct way of communication, of course, but like I said, I think most of the leaders are going to end up in jail very shortly.
How would you describe the impact of President Biden's trip here?
I think emotionally for Israelis, they were thrilled by the words of support. But like I said, I think it not just words of support. He initiated, and I think Congress already voted something like 14. I forget the exact figure, $14 billion in aid for Israel to fight this war. So we have to be exceedingly thankful because we're going to need a lot of money to fight this war. We're going to be running through ammunition, and especially if Hezbollah joins. So we need that money. So Israel has to be very, very appreciative to the United States for helping with the war effort. Like I say, I think it was a great mistake by the American president to think that you can give $100 million and solve their humanitarian crisis for the Palestinians and not impact on the lives of 200 Israeli and 14 American hostages.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a question you'd feel comfortable with. Some people think that what President Biden did and Antony Blinken is pressuring Israel and putting certain restrictions on Israel because of the aid and the military, military deployment here in the region. Is that something you've heard about?
It's been reported. I know he can give there can be some statements to the. There have been some statements about that in the press. The Israeli military leaders, I believe, are going to insist that this war be fought correctly. I don't think they're going to want to endanger our soldiers' lives unnecessarily. So I'm hoping that in spite of whatever pressure and possibly assurances Netanyahu might have given, I'm hoping that the military in the end wins out here and we do what we have to do. We're fighting against people who have no right to life, given what they've done intentionally. It's in all the documents that we found. This was not just acts of individuals. This was all planned. This is all planned by the Hamas leadership. And I must say, supported, as we see, by the Palestinian and Gazan population. We have to do everything to fight this as effectively as possible, efficiently as possible, and with the least loss of life for Israelis. No Israeli soldier should die unnecessarily while we're trying to make it easier for Palestinians.
Yeah. Itamar, the Oslo Accords back in the mid-1990s were supposed to bring about a Palestinian state. What's your analysis of the Oslo Accords?
The Oslo Accords, from the Israeli perspective, was supposed to bring peace. From the first moment, from the Palestinian perspective, it was a Trojan horse. The only purpose of the Oslo Accords were to gain a foothold inside Israel so that they could continue the terror. The PLO before the Oslo Accords was stationed in Tunisia, and they could not have serious terror against Israel. They agreed to the Oslo Accords so that Yasser Arafat and all of his terror infrastructure could come right inside the land of Israel, and from there continue terror. We know this because Palestinian leaders have said this over and over and over again. Even the great Palestinian leader Faisal Husseini said it in an interview just before he died, that the Oslo Accords were a Trojan horse and the Intifada was the coming out of the horse. That was the terrible terror war that we had from 2000 to 2005. So the Oslo Accords were a fraud from the first moment. For the Palestinian Authority, they were a great success because they accomplished just what they wanted to do, to gain a foothold for terror. For Israel, it was a great tragedy because from a few terror attacks a year, we ended up with, you see what we ended up with. So the Oslo Accord should be erased from history, and anyone who thinks that a Palestinian state will promote peace is living in a make-believe fantasy world. And I hope there are no Israelis who believe that today.
Thank you, Itamar.
Thank you.